Welcome, everybody, to episode 197 of Live at the Hive, Digital Marketing from the Trenches, Lunchtime Edition.
Ooh.
And I am your host, Dan Nadelko.
I'm Stacy DeSantis.
And I'm April McCall.
All right. Well, let's see how many people we get flooding in during the lunch hour, since we didn't really warn anybody about this imminent scheduling change. It's a surprise. Yeah.
It's a surprise and delight.
It is a surprise and delight. And it's always interesting to see what this little test will do, because you never know. We may actually have a good time to test out different engagements and see if people actually like and prefer to have this during the lunch hour.
Yeah.
Cool. So today we will be talking about how to create a successful, not just marketing funnel, but sales and marketing funnel for your business. One of the things that we typically see is there's a lot of talk of lead magnets, and you should get lead magnets, and you should be doing lots of lead gen, and there's a deeper process to this to really be successful. Mm-hmm. And one of the keys to this process is we want to create substantial lifetime value so you can spend more on lead acquisition. And that might sound confusing, but it is definitely something that we're going to dig into and walk through step by step.
Yeah. Exactly. We're going to put the fun into funnels.
There you go. I knew that was coming. I was just waiting for when it was actually going to happen.
She's waiting on that one.
I have been.
Awesome. All right. But first, as per normal, we are going to jump into, let's say hi to the crew. Who do we have? Yeah. Hi, Pippa. Pippa's been on vacation and tuning in. Look at that dedication. Mm-hmm. Hello, Brandon. Welcome. Courtney, welcome. A special lunchtime episode. And you're right on time, Court. Yeah. Maybe we catch you too late in the day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome. And like we've said, and we continue to say, if you're lurking, please don't be a stranger. Please drop a comment, leave a question, subscribe, turn notifications on, do all those things. And you can always go back and lurk on our 196, soon to be 197 other episodes as well.
Wow.
It's getting up there.
We're almost at 200.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Well, I was thinking of getting little champagne bottles for whoever's on episode 200.
Well, you can count me in.
There you go.
For that episode.
Maybe some mimosas.
Ooh.
There we go. All right, let's get down to business. So first off, April, I think you're going to be covering this one, but some more Apple goodness on the privacy front.
Yeah, as usual, some more Apple news here. So as everyone knows, there are a lot of iOS updates and changes when it comes to certain privacy and privacy changes. So it looks like there is another change on the horizon here. So what they're going to be doing, for instance, if we are sending out, let's say, any of your marketing or email marketing campaigns, users now will not be able to, I guess, they can block if they want to be able to be traceable. So that will make it a little harder for us marketers. For instance, if we send out an email and we look at some of our reports, I guess what we were talking about earlier is that it will turn into kind of a false positive, because it'll just kind of mark everything as someone had opened it. However, that may not be true. So now we need to look into, tracking another kind of metric. We were thinking about clicks, right? Because if they've clicked into the email itself, then we'll know that they've read the email. But it's just one of those little roadblocks, I think, that we'll have to get over, and something that we'll have to plan for any of our marketing or email marketing campaigns.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things as a marketer, or if you're running your own email marketing campaign, when you start to see your open rates jump way up, don't go running to your team and saying how awesome this campaign is doing. Yeah. You've got approximately 35% of the market on iOS devices. Yeah. And so that's a substantial number. And you want to be careful. So yeah, there's a lot of different tips that are coming out. I know WordStream has got some good articles there as well, but we really need to shift what we think about when it comes to email marketing as being a core metric. And yeah, to your point, April, CTA, click-throughs, valuable content that you can lead to your list. And also, look, if you're getting if you see a substantial change from your normal opens to post iOS 15 opens, that's telling you that your Apple users are not opening your emails.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, there's a differential there, right? So it's definitely time. And again, this is, one of the things that I like to say about this is don't freak out. You have to adapt. You have to change it, right? Like these platforms are maturing. It's been the Wild West in terms of privacy for a lot of years. And I think as marketers and business people, there was a certain sense of laziness that while Facebook audiences are awesome, I'll be able to use those forever. And that's not actually the case.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing. Yeah, just some interesting, just fun in the trenches, as we like to say. So just have to be able to pivot and be adaptable. And there are definitely other ways that you can see kind of who's engaging with what we're trying to do or what you're trying to put out there. So just a little bit of a roadblock.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we all have to remember that Apple is a business. Ad Age was actually quoted in this article saying that advertisers believe the more Apple shots off data to outsiders, the more it will be compelled to enter the advertising void. And they did add a new ad slot to its search tab in its app store. So, yeah.
Well, I think the thing is, so every one of these companies, Facebook, Google, Apple, they all have the same issue. They all have the same problem. Right, which is privacy concerns, and then there's anti-monopolistic potential to be broken up, and hefty fines that probably, especially in the European marketplace, don't show any sign of slowing, and they're far more aggressive than any North American government is in terms of how they fine. Like in Europe, they fine heavy, but this is an adaptation. There's going to be different ways to achieve the same goals. And I think one of the keys here is don't advertise, build community. And it just literally every week, we see more and more examples of content creators and influencers. And, like I said, I think last week, my kids don't know what ABC, CBS, and NBC are. They have no idea. To them, a channel is Mr. Beast or
YouTube.
So and the world is changing, so those creators and those influencers aren't going to have these issues because they're not actually advertising in a traditional sense in an intrusive way. So food for thought, but again, Apple continues to push that bar. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And scare marketers half out of their wits, or mostly out of their wits.
Definitely.
All right. So this one is an interesting one. Shopify reportedly surpassing Amazon in online traffic, heating up the race between the e-commerce firms. I don't know about this necessarily. I mean, I don't know if it's heating up the race. I think it's an interesting dynamic on this one. So, Shopify is said to reach 1.16 billion average monthly unique visitors during 3 months compared to 1.1 billion for Amazon. Now, the interesting thing about this, and the interesting thing about saying, Shopify versus Amazon, is that Shopify's clever approach has been that they're not specifically a direct Amazon competitor.
Right.
There is Shopify Shop, which is a mobile app that allows you to purchase from any Shopify vendor in a lot of the same way that you would be processing things with your Amazon app. But the reality is that, if you were to think of an Amazon competitor, you'd probably more closely think of, say, Jet or Walmart, right? Or Best Buy, although Best Buy is actually really cozy with Amazon. So I wouldn't even call them a competitor because they're partners. But the interesting thing about what Shopify has done is it's almost like a lateral disruption. It's like, okay, Amazon, we're going to compete with you in a different way by providing millions and millions of small businesses with an effectively independent platform where we do keep some fees, And then we do have the ability to consolidate purchasing through things like the Shopify app, for example, right? Now, the question is, what does Amazon do about this? Not a whole hell of a lot, to be honest with you. They could increase the features on Amazon seller pages and shop pages, but there are certain things that they will never do. Amazon will never give up the final customer, for example, in the same way that Apple never gives up the final customers in, well, Apple Music or iTunes, right? So the interesting thing that Shopify has managed to do is, and it's still a David and Goliath scenario here. Amazon is still dominates based on a lot of other metrics, but if you look at the trajectory of Shopify, and Bezos having said in the past that Amazon one day will die, he's actually come out and said that specifically, like this model will probably be disrupted at some point. And you look here, Shopify grows 864% over a 3-year period, right? And the smart moves that Shopify has made is the fact that they provide a platform that empowers an individual user in a relatively simple way, right? Compared to a lot of other solutions. So I don't think Amazon is necessarily ignoring it.
Right.
I think Amazon sees Shopify as a threat. I think the question really is what exactly do you do about it if you're Amazon, right?
Yeah. I think too, on the flip side, Shopify is definitely going to take a win like this, though, and they're going to ride it all the way to the merchant acquisition, because that's one area where they do slightly compete against one another. And by having this great news for their brand, they're definitely going to utilize that to try to attract more merchants to their platform.
Yeah. Well, I kind of analogize Shopify to this, where Amazon, this is pretty oversimplification. It's definitely an oversimplification. So Amazon's an elephant, right?
Yeah.
It's gigantic. It's really good at what they do. I mean, you can't, even with Shopify, you have a hard time and a challenge getting the kind of delivery times that they have. They're for the mass consumer, and they're effectively trying to sell anything, right? Now, Shopify is trying to empower millions of users using their platform, and taking a percentage plus a monthly fee for the platform itself. And Shopify is much more akin to an ant colony, right? Where one individual ant isn't actually all that powerful or strong. Swarms of killer bees, for example, or honeybees in a colony. Individually, they have absolutely no power whatsoever. But when you combine them into the kind of group collective, they become extremely powerful. Right? Fire ants in the Amazon can take down very large animals as a colony. So I kind of feel it's that kind of an analogy. Now, I think the other thing to remember about Amazon is that Amazon also powers like a significant portion of the internet with their other services like Amazon Web Services, et cetera. So there's more to it, and there's a lot more nuance than that, but it's definitely interesting to see the growth that Shopify has had, which has been really astronomical. And I think the reason that Shopify has been able to grow is they focus on they have Shopify Plus, and I know that's a big thing, but I really think that the focus has been on the small to medium sized businesses, where it's like there's millions and millions of these people. Yeah. And they have scalability in the way that they can grow. They don't have to onboard anybody if you're at any one of the standard 3-tier levels that exist, that you can just go purchase and sign up and get going. So cool. Let's just see what Courtney's having to say. They do a very good job of being the other guys, filling in the Amazon gaps, local businesses, instead of going head to head. Exactly. And it's a great example of gap analysis, right?
Definitely.
And if you see small vendors, they really do not like selling on Amazon because there's a significant cost hit in terms of percentages and fees, et cetera, et cetera. And Pippa's saying, yes, it is hard to imagine a world without Amazon, even though like 5 short years ago, you may, but yeah, I'm an Amazon junkie too.
Same. Me too.
All righty. Next up in what's new, and then we're going to get into what's working on the funnels. Stacey, this one's over to you.
Yeah. So my personal favorite platform right now, TikTok, has outlined additional opportunities for their unique potential for advertisers, like for brands to advertise on their platform. So what this basically outlines is what differentiates TikTok from other advertisers is the fact that they're really concentrating on the content development side of their platform versus the number of user following. So for instance, if you ever go onto TikTok for your For You page, more and more users are actually finding content just through that versus actually saying, I'm going to go to this particular user's account. So they're really streamlining their funnel, if you will. And further down in the article, you'll see where they talk about the awareness, the consideration, the conversion, and how brands can actually utilize their platform to direct users through their funnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think the interesting thing about this take is this is where where TikTok has a real leg up, I think, is philosophically. So if we look at this statement right here.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was a trend started called TikTok made me buy it. And if you see that this trend has been around for quite a while. I mean, I've noticed it for at least a year. And it was started organically by people trying to sell their own stuff on TikTok, and then it became a meme. But where TikTok is really nimble and agile, and I think where Facebook falls a little flat, is recognizing consumer trends and what their users are doing organically, and then actually taking that and turning it into platform systems and tools to actually enable their organic usage. Whereas typically what we see on Facebook is when trends start to happen, and whether it's an algorithm that someone's figured out or whatever it might be, typically Facebook and Instagram will shut that down. They'll change the algorithm, they'll shut it down, they'll reduce its visibility. And what TikTok does is says, okay, so we've got TikTok made me buy it. And then, they recognize people are less satisfied with much of the advertising they see online. They're looking for ad experiences that are genuinely entertaining, especially when it comes to commerce. Right?
The organic experience, right?
They're really tapping into what makes them unique versus other places, because to advertise, because I think that's been a real gap, is that people are like, oh, okay, I'm going to just advertise on TikTok like I have on Instagram or Facebook or any of these other social platforms. And TikTok's saying, no. It's about creating an experience. It's about the content itself. It's bringing that to the forefront instead of just being a user that says, okay, well, I've got 1 million followers. Okay, well, great. But what does that mean? And how are you providing value and creating that experience so people actually want to click through or buy something now?
Yeah, so they're really using, if this statement says a lot, they hear about a product in videos on their For You page, engage with the content, then use our advertising products to visit a brand site to browse and make the purchase. All of it takes place within TikTok itself, happens so smoothly. Users can return to their feeds as soon as they're done, then restart the process. So they're merging the organic with the effectively headless checkout, so you don't have to leave and go somewhere else. But I think, the big takeaway from this is that TikTok embraces this kind of innovation and change that happens organically. And they don't turn around and say, well, no, we don't want that because we haven't got our checkout ready or whatever. They're like, okay, well, look, people are doing this from their For You page. So let's integrate the experience onto their For You page. Let's integrate the organic experience and then give the advertisers the tool to be able to have that checkout experience exactly where it's currently happening organically. And that's a 200 IQ move, right?
Oh,
That's amazing.
100%.
Yeah, I love when things are on my For You page in the first place. So if I see a product that's kind of already in my For You page, it's probably something that I really like. Example, let's say I got a new kitten, so I started seeing like products for kittens and people advertising stuff they got for their cats. And I definitely jumped on that trend and bought a few things. So the likelihood of things that I see on my For You page that I like, people love that. They like that, opposed to kind of being shouted at on a different platform that they feel forced into buying.
Yeah, exactly. And Courtney's saying, I hear that, April. I mean, Stacy probably has the same experience as I do. I don't know. But on TikTok, obviously, whatever, they're hearing my microphone and reading my text messages and everything else. So I'm all dog, 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 dog. And the floppy fishy kept coming up.
Yeah,
and then I saw the floppy fishy organic content on my For You page. And then finally we actually ended up buying a floppy fishy, which is just a fish that flops around and it's motion activated, right? But it started with the organic experience and then started seeing it. And then I saw it a few times and saw more videos like, oh, we might as well give this a shot. I mean, there's a lot of people that this seems to be working for. So,
and that's just it. TikTok allows you to have that opportunity to do something we're going to talk about. And when we get into the meat of what we're talking about today in terms of funnels, you're actually providing a solution to a problem. Right? Like I have a dog and he's bored and this would be really fun. And it actually takes you through that experience. And then on top of that, there's that whole other layer of the previous article we were just talking about with Shopify. TikTok's now partnered with Shopify. Like, boom. Right?
Yeah.
Like how great is that channel of delivery and, going to happen?
Yeah. And I think once again, just in the terms of the big monopolistic tech companies, I actually think, you see Shopify and you see TikTok, not that TikTok is small because ByteDance is big, but whatever.
Yeah.
in terms of the saturation, they're no Google, right? As big as they are. But I do think that this is innovation happening and innovation's important. And, in 10 years, Instagram probably won't be relevant. Be honest with you, it'll be something else. TikTok may or may not be relevant, but having an ecosystem where competition can take place, even if Shopify and TikTok get together because they can join forces more effectively to combat or to challenge Facebook and Instagram, I think that's good. And it's really great for consumers and it's awesome for marketers as well.
And small businesses, because you have all these smaller creators developing content for TikTok. And then, now you can buy it on And
I think one thing we suffer from our own confirmation biases here because we live this world, right? If you live in this world, or if you work at Shopify like April's husband does, you get a confirmation bias. We're in our own bubble saying, hey, you know what? Everybody has a Shopify store. I had several calls this week with potential clients where they were actually saying, well, do we think we really need the Shopify store? That's still very prevalent out there in the world. And the short answer is absolutely should always be selling online and adding distribution points.
Definitely.
Without a doubt. But, I think a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here would blow some people's minds in terms of how people are actually really interacting and purchasing. And that's also going to tie into the funnels that we're going to talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Just moving along. One final one. I'm not going to spend too long on this one. But it is good to see. LinkedIn's launching updated lead gen forms integration with Zapier. I don't care. I know Zapier said it's Zapier, but that just doesn't flow right to me.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the show started.
Yeah.
I am aware it is technically Zapier, but you know what? Like SEMrush to me is always going to be SEMrush. I'm starting to call it SEMrush. But Zapier just sounds weird to me, and I don't really care.
It rolls off the tongue easier.
Yeah. I don't know. So one of the things here is for event registration trigger. You'll probably know I'm really big on automations. If you can't automate it, don't bother doing it. If you can't automate it, you will never, ever, ever scale, not in a million years. So any automations, even if it is a Zap, is welcome. That LinkedIn opening up its APIs for automations for marketers presents us a better opportunity to actually embrace some of their tools. Just as an example, like we're talking about all this iOS and privacy issues, like one of the things that you need to do is start to collect your own first party data and nurture that first party data. Well, if you have events or you're collecting audience data on LinkedIn and you have not been able to bridge that over to your CRM or over to your other audiences, wherever those might be, and you have to do it manually, you're going to miss the boat because manual intervention may have a delay of 24 to 48 hours, at which point your funnel that you're building for remarketing and retargeting, you may have already missed that, if that makes sense. And you definitely don't want to be in that boat. So yes, Zapier is something we use extensively. I think we have 100 and something different Zaps running at any given time. It's amazing how your life changes when you automate and you automate properly without having to constantly be checking in on something. We had a coast-to-coast national client earlier this year with lots, and April, I think you kind of felt that in real time and in real life.
Yeah, but it ultimately, saved us time, right? So setting it up was fun, but at the end of the day, it just saved us a lot of time because there, like you said, Dan, there's no way you can scale if you don't have some sort of automation put in place. So it is well worth the time to, get in there and create them.
Yeah, and this comes from my background as a software developer, and April, your husband may be able to confirm or deny this, but there's a big part of software developers that are lazy. It's like, I've got this magical machine here. I can tell it to do whatever I want. So I should like constantly be trying to make it do as much of the heavy lifting as possible so I don't have to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Zapier is no code. Basically what it is a no code integration bridge that two apps can be told to talk to each other based on certain triggers.
Yeah, I love it. Great tool.
All right, here we go. 12:30 and we are on track. So
awesome.
Let's jump right into what's working. And so Yvonne's putting this full disclosure, this was Yvonne's pun. It could be genius or cringe. It depends on your point of view, but putting the fun back in funnel. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Oops. Didn't want to hit my developer tools. So let's talk a little bit about marketing funnels. And I know they have a somewhat negative connotation, especially in the online world, because it is not typically, but it's notorious for coaches and courses and things that may be, here we go. Here's the fun saying. It is fun. You know what's fun to me? One of the things that's fun to me is to see a full-fledged funnel and automations working, and you start to get notifications about new subscribers, and then maybe a new Tripwire EPO purchase, and then a new purchase, and then when you see that process happening, and you're sitting there, and you're either on your phone or you're at your computer, and you just start getting all these notifications. I mean, that's fun to me.
Yeah.
That's like success. It's cool to see it actually happening, right?
Definitely.
But like we said, everyone understands how it feels to miss a sale, or how it is to have a challenging sales conversation, or to try to warm a cold lead. It can be a very frustrating process. And you see a lot of businesses chasing cold prospects, whether it's cold calling and picking up the phone and trying to just, interrupt somebody in the middle of their day to try to get some kind of a relationship built. Extremely frustrating, immensely time consuming, incredibly expensive for a business, very low conversion rates. And like I said, I think notoriously, funnels are like anything else. And we're going to talk a bit about the history of funnels. Funnels are not new. They've been around for literally 100 years. We've got examples that will show you really big businesses that use funnels all the time. So it's not the funnel that's the problem. It's how it's implemented by certain people, and that gives it this negative connotation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And if they've been doing it incorrectly and they're not getting success, automatically they're going to be like, it doesn't work. They'll be dismissive, right?
Yeah, well, and one thing that we've seen a lot of, especially in the last few years, I think a lot of businesses now understand the concept of the lead magnet, which is great. I mean, that's a good first step, but it's only a lead magnet development that they're focused on, and not the entire. And really what this is mapping your customer journey. Like when we talk about how do you map the customer journey, and Pippa, let's keep this one going. Those people don't put the fun in funnels. No, they don't. No, they don't. And I do know that some significant others from the team have significant others that are in sales that deal with this. And it's a very painful thing to deal with. I mean, on cold call prospecting is just the worst thing in the world.
Definitely.
And you don't need to be doing it either. so one of the things that the funnel is the customer journey. So one thing we talk a lot about, and you know, it's my critique of these major influencers like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example. He's a bit better than some, but if it's like, you know, use AIDA, use AIDA, you know, create a customer journey with valuable content. I mean, that's so vague. Like, what do you mean? And I know that this is the thing. Like, what do you exactly mean? What should I exactly be doing at this point? Because I have no clue what I should be doing right now. Right. And so this is what we're going to talk about here. And so we're going to go through every step of the funnel. But like I said, in terms of talking about it, the sales funnel really is the customer journey. And it's about creating engagement. It's about creating interest. It's about giving valuable content. You know, the best salespeople in the world are actually solution sellers, right? Yeah. They don't sell anything. They help people solve problems. And when you help someone solve a problem, they build trust, and then they will want to buy from you, right? Yep. And that's what a marketing funnel is. It's just it's those same concepts that you would have used 60, 70 years ago in business, mapped to updated technologies that we have today. And that's it. That's all it is. So when people say, I need a TikTok strategy, I need to do TikTok, or I need to do Instagram, it's like, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes. And we're going to talk about this. So what is a funnel? Is that sales process that has been used for hundreds of years successfully by many businesses. And now it's mapped into modern day tech. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, let's talk about some of the why it's important. You know, ultimately, and again, this has nothing to do with digital marketing or online sales or anything. I didn't make this stuff up. If you go back and read Charles Ogilvy, or, you know, read any of the classic marketing and business books from 100 years ago, even, these are themes that they've talked about. But ultimately, what customers pay any business for, your business, our business, is starting out in an undesirable before state to a desirable after state, right? And, you know, you can distill it down to there. So if your core product doesn't do this, then you've got a problem, a fundamental problem that cannot be solved by any marketing in the world. And this is a challenging conversation that I've had to have with even clients of ours. And, you know, one of the things that we do is we challenge the product, because, you know, I think a lot of businesses look at, oh, there's the product team over here. There's the sales team over here, and the marketing team's over here. You marketing, you go get those people, sales, you sell that product.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, everybody on that team has to challenge the quality of that product.
Yes.
Right? Is this useful? Is it taking our customers from an undesirable before to a desirable after?
Is it solving problems, right?
Yeah, exactly. And look, not to be, not to simp on Shopify, because I've got a lot of critiques of Shopify, but I do think one of their strengths that they have is that they constantly evaluate and reevaluate their product, and they say, this worked, this didn't work, right? This is working, this is not, and they've added and deleted numerous different features that they've had over the years.
And I think a big problem that a lot of businesses have too is they're too close to their product.
Yeah.
So they just think the bee's knees, everything's great, but you have to, and we're sure it is, but you have to take a critical step back and like look at it objectively and be like, okay, well, how is this exactly going to solve X problem for X user?
Well, and
you
this
understand that you really can't.
Yeah.
You know, and in the agency world, we lay this gauntlet down at the beginning of every client relationship that we have, is we will challenge your product. So if you're not okay with that, then maybe we shouldn't work together. Because the worst kind, from a marketing agency perspective, is the worst kind of an engagement you can have is just go out and market this product, and we need to see an increase in sales, but we're not changing the product,
right?
Because we know it's good. That's like saying, you know what, Stacy, my kids, April, my kids are the smartest, sweetest, most intelligent,
Of course.
kindest children in the world, which they are. But they have their moments. They're not perfect. I'm not saying trade in your kid or anything, but maybe we have to talk about someone getting frustrated and taking out anger. So we have to change certain things. It's the same thing with a product.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
you
just
can't assume it's
optimizing.
perfect.
You're just
Mhm.
optimizing.
Mhm.
Like, that's
Figuring
the way
it
I
out.
look at it. Like, even when we run campaigns or things, we're constantly testing. I guess
Yeah.
that's the
Yep.
thing. And as a product or a business with a brand, you need to constantly be testing your
Mhm.
product, or you're just going to become stale, and you're
Well,
not
and this is,
evolving, and you're not, becoming dynamic.
and this is the literal definition of the startup saying, which is fail fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Be willing to make changes and pivot. And if there's one advice I can give for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, service companies that may not have that philosophy, is open your mind to the fact and talk to your customers about what's working and what's not for your products. It's like, none of this will work unless you do that. Okay?
Yeah, very true.
No funnel, no marketing in the world will fix the core product. And we're going to talk about that. So without getting stuck here, because again, this one, we could go deep on this, and we probably will continue to go deep. But what else do funnels do, right? And again, try to disjoin your brain from the fact that funnels are this cheesy online thing that digital coaches and life coaches or whatever kind of coach is going to, like Ty Lopez is going to charge me, or Grant Cardone charges me $7,500 for his masterclass. Like, forget those guys, like whatever. I'm talking about the fact that a funnel is really a customer journey. Well-crafted funnels actually do show your audience why and how they need your product or your services, right? And it proves it to them over a period of time, which is intended to be relationship building. Now, if we were to look at someone like a Grant Cardone or a Ty Lopez, for example, one of the things that they ride on are what's called a parasocial relationship. Have you guys heard of parasocial relationships? Kind of all the rage right now, but it's more in the world of psychology than it is in terms of the world of marketing, but marketing is psychology. So a parasocial relationship is the type of relationship where influencers have a massive audience. Gary Vee, Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, keep going right down the line. Russell Brunson, like all these guys. A parasocial relationship is where there's one influencer or individual and then hundreds of thousands or millions of other people that feel that they've developed a bond with that individual on a one-to-one basis when they in fact have not.
Right.
In fact, the audience is kind of like the Borg. It's like a group think, right? Because, if I watch
Star Trek reference?
Yes, of course.
Borg.
It's groupthink, right? We are Borg. Well, it's interesting, and not to go too far off topic here, but it's interesting if you watch Twitch streamers or YouTube streamers and influencers, what do they say when they're talking to their chat? What do they call them? They say, hey, chat.
Family, you're part of the crew, like you built that relationship with them. You feel like you know them because you're watching them or engaging with them so constantly.
So if I'm watching Ninja or Tim the Tap Man on Twitch, use that example, or a guy like Ludwig on Twitch, if you hear them talk, or Hassan Abi on Twitch as well, what they'll say is, XQC, they'll say, hey, chat, what do you think, chat? So chat now becomes this group thing, which could have hundreds of thousands of people on it, tens of thousands of people. Chat becomes one big thing, even though it's composed of thousands and thousands of people, right? And one of the things that happens with these parasocial relationships is that the purchasers feel a direct connection with, say, a Grant Cardone, right? Now, let's deconstruct that. What is Grant Cardone doing? Right, wrong, or indifferent? I don't believe in his products necessarily. I know what he's all about. But I'm saying if we deconstruct that, what has Grant Cardone done that builds this narrative of trust in a parasocial relationship where he doesn't know any one of the individuals, right? He's created a story. He's used storytelling to create a narrative to work them through a customer journey using podcasting, live streaming, and everything else. There are also videos of Grant Cardone, who is because he has a whole sales team that goes and sells this high ticket priced course that he's got, right?
Right.
And there's videos that he's shown of him actually going on with one of his sales reps, picking up the phone when someone has said no. And do you know how he approaches it? He's like, hey, my man, how is it going? Just like a smooth transition, as if the last podcast or live stream he had was a one-to-one conversation with that individual on the phone. And you know what happens to that person? They go, oh my God, I'm talking to Grant.
Yeah. Starstruck.
And he closes the deal. Now, let's deconstruct that to what we're talking about with a funnel. What Grant is doing in there, he's trying to create his well-crafted funnel shows the audience that they need the product or service, and he has to reinforce it. He's creating an ongoing story, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And he's actually very good at that, right? Again, dismissing, there's lots of stuff about him being a scam, et cetera, but just ignore that. It's from an example perspective.
Right.
And his funnel enables customer relationships to develop naturally. The point to which when he gets on a phone, even though he's using this parasocial kind of dynamic, that if he says to anybody that is potentially watching it, Gary Vee does it all the time. He answers the phone when he does these random phone calls, and he's not formal. He's not introduced. It's like, hey, how's it going, my man? How's it going? You know, like, what's up? As if that's a continuation of a conversation. And that is an effective marketing funnel.
Yeah. Establishing those relationships, right?
And you've broken the ice like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So let's, you know what? I'm going to actually jump around a bit here.
Sure.
All right. We're strapping in.
We're ready.
We're ready.
Put your seatbelt on.
Okay. So the question is how do we start to create a real funnel, right? And again, most people start with, I'm going to start with the lead magnet. Kind of the same way when we talk about content creation and that kind of recurring infographic we have about your cornerstone content that you then deconstruct into other smaller pieces of content. Most people start with content and say, well, I got to do an Instagram schedule and a LinkedIn schedule, and then I got to write a blog post, and then we got to do a live stream or a webinar, and like you're going the wrong way. The tail's wagging the dog. With a funnel, starting with your lead magnet is the tail wagging the dog. You've got to reverse sort order. You've got to start at the end. So, you know, what Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, at least according to what I've read, and Agatha Christie really popularized when they wrote, like any Sherlock Holmes book that you've ever read, Arthur Conan Doyle started at the end, the solution. Holmes has figured this out. And then as he works back, he's able to weave a broader story to both, you know, confuse you, to make Sherlock Holmes, like you work that backwards route. And that's exactly what we're going to do here with creating a funnel. The first step, and I know Stacy will and April will both be able to talk about this, is spend time creating accurate personas and not just one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you really need to dive deep into, like, it always boggles my mind when people don't create personas, because it's just like trying to throw a net into the ocean.
Like everyone's different, right?
Something. Yeah, like you have to understand by actually breaking down someone's persona, you can not only understand who they are, but what are their triggers, what are their pain points, and then you can match that to what you're trying to solve for them.
Right.
If you don't,
I didn't say product, I said the solution to the problem.
Yes, the solution to the problem. That's exactly, that's a really great, point, is sell solutions, right? And that's the before and after state. That's really what we've been talking about earlier on there, is a lot of businesses are focused on the product and not how it affects the consumer. And that's like the very first fundamental step that you need to take, right? And we have, dedicated Live at the Hives just on persona development. I don't know the episode offhand. If Benny B can jump out and get us that episode number, I know that we've got some there.
Oh, he knows that. I know he knows that.
Yeah. And just throw out the episode number if you can. So next, what we're going to do is define our core product. Okay. Now you could have, we'll get into this. You'll have lots of core products. And then we have to define our core offer. Do not confuse the two. They're two different things. Then we're going to come up with an entry point offer, what is also kind of there's so many negative connotations in digital marketing, and it drives me crazy, right? Guerrilla marketing, tripwires, right? It's like, oh my, like we're attacking and killing. Like, what is a tripwire? You're tripping somebody, and what, the bomb explodes? Exactly. It's a terrible term that has kind of taken
it's
hold.
not guerrilla warfare.
Exactly. I like entry point offer much better, but still with the caveat that it is a tripwire. And then creating valuable lead magnets that provide real value. This is the order that we do this in. Okay. So we don't just start with a lead magnet and say, well, someone would like this checklist if, they're going to buy something from us. Okay. So let's have a quick look here at what a core product means, right? So the core product is not your offer.
Right.
Please remember this, people. The product is the product, right? And you may have a whole catalog of products. And really the one to understand what, in this particular case, what's my best core product to be offering? Again, with the goal of creating long-term lifetime value. Purchases, repurchases, other items in your catalog, other services that you provide, right? Mm-hmm. So find your best seller, your steady seller, your best seller for first-time customers. Pick one.
Just one.
And what ends up happening, and we also hear this a lot. Who are your customers? Well, 18 to 65-year-old males and females in North America, pretty much everybody.
Yeah, everybody is yep.
That really, and no offense to anybody that may be watching that I've had this conversation with, but that shows an incredible amount of lack of self-awareness of your business and your product. Mm-hmm. Your business and product is not applicable to everybody in a certain way at a certain time.
That's why personas are important.
Yeah.
Yep. So from a core product, and pick one. The other one thing as a caveat to this whole thing is try one funnel per persona, not one funnel for all personas.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Okay. So you get better at this as you continue to do it. Okay. Now our core offer is a unique way of presenting or selling that product. It's a way of packaging that thing that makes it even more attractive in that particular context.
Yeah.
Okay. So understanding, and we're going to use Marketer Knows, our community, as an example a little bit later on. Hopefully I'm going to try to keep this clipping along as quickly as possible here. The mistake that many businesses do, and you'll hear me say it literally on every single live. I don't think there's been one in like 30 or 40 episodes where I haven't said it. Never sell your core product to a cold audience, ever.
100%.
It's too expensive. They don't know who you are. Why would I buy it from you? Do I trust you? I don't know, right? Yeah. And again, our goal here in the funnel and in this particular case is we want to be able to create a profitable funnel so we can spend more money on the front end to acquire a lead that will generate substantial lifetime value. Everybody says, I need cheaper leads. Wrong. You don't. You need more profitable leads.
Yeah, quality.
Right? Then you can spend more if you have this mapped out. And it's a really important point to take into account. And one of the reasons businesses fail and campaigns fail is that there is no compelling core offer there.
Right.
Oh, what you just put your third most popular. It's kind of like you see this sometimes on Black Friday where it's like Apple does this. It's like 2% off. It's like 2% off. Like, really?
Wow.
Like that is not not compelling to me in any way, shape, or form.
No way.
Okay, so let's jump into the tripwire. So now you've got your core product, you got your core offer set. Now we're going to talk about an entry point offer. It's known as a tripwire. Now we had huddled up before, and April did not recognize this at all.
I've never seen this before, but it was interesting to learn about. It's a good idea.
Yeah. So this is back from the 70s, 60s and 70s, actually. And so just for all you kids out there, Columbia Music, back when we had to go to the record store to actually buy a record, even singles. When I was a kid, we used to go buy like the top 30 chart would be on the wall with little single albums, and you'd rush to buy it.
Yeah.
But Columbia Music, Columbia House, what they did was it was a subscription service. But their Tripwire entry point offer was getting this example here, 13 records or tapes for $1, 15% off all music sales after that. And I remember this when I was a kid, is we would sign up for this and then rush to cancel it so we could just get the 13. Right.
Yeah.
But this is an example of an entry point offer. You can do gated content. You can do loss leaders. You can do product reviews. So that's like a free trial, extended 60-day free trial, that kind of thing. The idea here with an entry point offer is not to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. The idea with the entry point offer is to have a small amount that has that customer taking out their credit card and making an initial purchase. That's a huge psychological barrier you jump over.
Right.
Right. I've bought from you once before. That's a huge trust metric, even if
easier again.
Yeah. Even if it's for $1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we're going to talk about some tactical examples as well. So now we're still working backwards and we're using some different examples. Now that we've gone through the process of the core product, the core offer, the persona development before that, the entry point offer, and we're starting to see how we are trailing back. The third is the lead magnet. Right now we're at getting closer to the top of the funnel. And as you're thinking about your core product and your core offer and all of the benefits, the before state and the after state that the core product has for that customer, now you're able to say, okay, I understand the pain points for my customers. Now I can develop lead magnets in order to provide substantial value. Right. And this is the important part about lead magnets. Do not repurpose a checklist. Right. I've seen lead magnets that are literally the same friggin' 10 points on how to optimize Facebook ad campaigns. And it's like no value whatsoever. Right.
Yeah. And it's so lackluster and disappointing when you get that.
Yeah.
Oh, such and such brand also offered me this. And it like,
exactly.
Something unique.
It's disappointing. Yeah.
Very, you know what I mean? Like not just the same old.
Doesn't increase that relationship value at all, right? Because I felt like I didn't get anything of value.
Yeah, I feel disappointed.
Exactly. And you will find substantial content if you really understand your customer, right? And the important thing to think about the lead magnet, think about it. Although there's almost never money involved. It is a transaction. It's a transaction of perceived value versus trust with my contact information. Right. And that's the most important first step, or one of the most important first steps in creating an ongoing relationship.
Yeah. And another point to that is a good trigger if you're really struggling to find what that value piece will be, is think about your curiosity for your product. What, like in this example, find your skin type. So people would be curious, really understand what their skin type is. So one thing that will always serve you well, especially when you're developing content like this, is to understand curiosity.
What questions that your customers may ask. Again, that's a persona building, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the other thing too is, one of the, in the makeup and beauty verticals, there's a lot of confusion over skin types and frustration that women and men have identifying their exact skin type, because it makes a huge difference. I mean, I was in theater way back in the day and I had to find my skin type to get base and makeup for theater. It is a real pain point for people to find that. And always providing that great perceived value, right? So if this is your business and you know everything about it, you always have to remember that your audience will never know as much as you forget in one day about your product.
Right.
Exactly. So you know a whole bunch, and you have to understand what's going to be the most helpful for somebody that's in that position. Okay. Next up, we're going to talk about maximizers. All right. Again, kind of cheesy names. And you would think, oh, what are all these digital marketing scam artists doing here? Right. Well, and you know, there is that perception.
Yeah.
And the perception is absolutely incorrect, because once again, this is something that businesses have been doing for hundreds of years, right? They've just been doing it in a different way. So what is a maximizer? It's intended to provide increased average customer value instantly. If you can provide that instantly, and there's an example from Amazon, right?
Right.
And you can see this on a lot of e-com shops. This is the bundling strategy, which is, hey, you're getting the camera, you're going to want an SD card and probably a camera case,
Yeah.
right?
That's
If
got
you're
me
at-
a few times for sure.
Yep. And if you can provide additional value with a discount or whatever it is, you can get an immediate upsell at a point of checkout. You can do this with bundled products and services. If you have a service, you can make it recurring and provide a discount. Would you rather have a customer pay you for 1 month or 3 months?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It can work in almost any scenario. Like last year, I bought a new bed and I went from a queen to a king. Well, I bought the bed, great. But oh shoot, now I need sheets.
The sheets,
Because I only
yeah.
have queen and I need a king. You know, like you have to, that's where going back to the personas and the customer journey is really going to serve you well, because you'll really understand what those maximizers are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. The one important thing about the maximizer offer is there's no silver bullet. It's not like we can say, oh yeah, in this vertical, this works. It's really customer business dependent. So it really requires a lot of testing, an open mind. Don't just try something one time and say, oh, geez, it failed. My kids tend to do that, but they're young. It's like, you've got to continue to try. You've got to continue to test. And the minute that, you know, you, like Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Right.
Very true.
One last point on maximizer is, again, and businesses are incredibly myopically focused on this, which is, I need new customers. I need new customers. I need new customers. Sure you do, but you need to retain the customers you have. It's more important than acquiring new customers.
Yeah, you need to start thinking in terms of building a community versus just gaining
Keep throwing things out.
How do you amalgamate them and bring them all together to be advocates for that one, that what you're solving for them?
Exactly. So let's actually look at a maximizer. This is one of my favorite examples that we've used over and over again. So if you've ever looked into the genius of McDonald's, and there's a couple of things. One, that McDonald's is in fact a real estate company and it's not actually a fast food chain, but that's something you'll have to watch. What was that movie about Ray Kroc with Michael Keaton? And I always forget the name of it.
Oh yeah, forget.
It's really good if you get a chance to watch it. I don't remember the name.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah. It's true that the genius of McDonald's is in the fact it's a real estate company primarily. But in terms of their food offering, the interesting thing that if you look into it is you'll find that McDonald's makes almost no money on any of their sandwiches. It's just not a thing. It's like razor thin, like between a point, maybe 1 point of profit. The maximizers that they've developed, the core product is the Big Mac. It's the McChicken. It's the filet of fish. It's what they feature. They'll very rarely feature their fries, right? Or their drink. And the reason is that the core product, the core offer, they don't make any money on it or very little money on it. And they make all the money on the pop and on the soft drink, or the pop and the fries and everything else that goes along with it. So the maximizer is the Big Mac meal. That's the maximizer. It's immediately offering an upsell, right? I just want a sandwich. I got a bottle of water in the car. I'll have that. But gee, I really want the fries. But if you buy the Big Mac and the fries separately, it's more than the meal.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is the initially directly right there where you could buy the Big Mac or you could buy the Big Mac meal is the maximizer. And you can see that in this breakdown, $1.32 profit, but that's 7.3 times that of the core sale, which would just be the burger itself. So to everybody thinking that this is just a digital marketing thing, this is not just a digital marketing thing. This is a business thing that goes back years and years and years and years. Okay. Got to beat it up a little bit, and maybe we'll touch on Marketer Knows, or maybe we will. Oh, Brandon's saying the founder is the name of the movie. That's right.
Yeah,
now I remember. Thanks, Brandon, for that. And then once you have your funnel in place and you're testing it, there's lots of ways to optimize and continue optimizing. And, it's like working out. It's like you go to the gym once, there's your first funnel, but you're not in shape if you go once. You're just going to be sore the next day, right?
Yeah, and the day after.
Yeah, it's about consistently. So here are some ways that you can optimize your funnel and your core offer. Offer payment terms. Offer discounts, but discounts can be a road to the bottom, and you don't necessarily want to do that. So be very careful with discounts. Bonuses, premiums. So a premium version of a service, a premium version of a product. Maybe it's upgraded that you can actually, exactly. One of our favorites is bundles, because bundles offer such a high perceived value. Yeah. So for example, maybe you're selling a garage door opener, right? So you could upsell by offering $100 off of installation, because no one wants to install a garage door. If you've ever tried to, it is such a pain in the ass. I don't know if you've ever tried to. You've got it's got a giant spring that you have that could kill you if you pop it out. Yeah, it's not fun. Yeah. But then in terms of a bundle, you could also have, a really good ebook that you could actually have printed for pretty cheap on, how to organize and clean your garage. Now, that's a huge thing, I think, for a lot of people. You can just see it driving around. People's garages tend to not necessarily be that organized. So that's a bundle with perceived value upgrade, right? Kits, extended warranties and guarantees, urgency, limited time offer, and actually make sure it's really limited. Don't just be faking people out.
Yeah, so the whole fear of missing out.
Exactly. Exactly. And then championing a cause, which is just conscientious capitalism. So, you add your core offer, and you know what? For every purchase, we're going to donate $20 to Save the Trees Foundation. They're going to get 10 trees planted, for example. And that's a way to maximize that optimize the funnel in your core offer.
Look at what was that shoe brand? Is it Tens that does that, April? Where if you buy a pair of their shoes, they'll actually donate a pair of shoes to
someone who needs it.
To someone who needs it. Yeah, which is great. I would I'd jump into that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And we actually see that that's becoming more and more important to, millennials and Gen Zers as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think overall. All right. So I'm going to run through this real quick, so we're not keeping everybody way past, but the stages of a successful funnel. And now we've talked about breaking it down. So on the awareness side, you've heard of AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action. It is a fundamental model, but I think it's a bit dated, and it just needs to be updated. And that's literally what this is.
Right.
So awareness and the See, Think, Do, Care is our framework that we use, where we talk about it a lot. So you're creating great content, and that makes the right audiences notice you. Step 2, engagement. Again, this is the think and See, Think, Do, Care. Still creating engaging, relevant content for your target personas and audiences that will make them want to engage with you. So you've caught their attention, you've got their engagement. The subscribe, this is the lead magnet. You've got that great content and value of incredible value. So that's my typo for your ideal persona. Something at this point in the third stage of this funnel, which is actually nonlinear, they'll want to give you the contact information because you're providing so much value, right? The conversion. And the conversion, there are several conversions that happen, but this is the entry point offer. So you've put thought into it. You crafted a really strong entry point offer. And for your ideal customer, it'd be something that would be stupid for them to refuse, that they wouldn't want to refuse you. They also trust you at this point, right? And like I said, right, wrong, or indifferent, you could use Grant Cardone or Gary Vaynerchuk or any of these other people as examples, right? The trust has been built whether you think the product that they're selling is not great, is what it is. We want to excite the customer. So that's the core and maximizer offers. It's like, okay, now you're giving me a really great deal, right? And I've had a whole bunch of interactions with you over here. Now I want to do business with you, and you're giving me a good deal, right?
Wow, you're amazing.
Yes, exactly. And then post that, the promote is the referral. So since lifetime, so again, we're taking this from the idea that lifetime value and profitability is key to success, right? It's not just that first sale, which a lot of people are focused on. It is that LTV, the lifetime customer value, the lifetime value can triple, quadruple your ROI based on retention alone, and reduce those costs, freeing up budget for you to go to the front end and say, now I can double the amount that I'm able to spend on acquiring new customers because their value is 6 times what it was before. Okay. All right. Super quickly here. I'm going to use Marketer Knows so here's Marketer Knows. It's one of our sites. It's still in beta, but let's break this down super quick. What is the core product? And initially, if you were to look at it, it'd probably sound like courses and roadmaps, and it's actually not. The core product is the community, right? And I've spent years kind of working through this. The reason being is that Udemy exists, and all these other different, like LinkedIn Learning is there, and they're great courses. They're actually really high quality courses. But the courses are not the product here, because you can only go so far with a course. For Marketer Knows, it's actually about the community, that this is worth being a part of, right? Our core offer is what's called a Founders Club membership. Our entry point offer is a free community membership. Our lead magnets are in-depth free content, campaign roadmap giveaways. So you'll see there. And our maximizer is 25% off everything forever if you join the Founders Club, right? It comes right after that. Okay, so let's walk through this. We have some content here. On the awareness side, we've got a bunch of these. I'm just picking some of the most effective as an example. So we wrote an extremely in-depth real cost of Facebook as we wrote it in 2018, updated in 2019, and updated it in 2020, and then addendum for obviously 2021 because it's not over. This breaks down in gory detail. I think it's about 3,500 words at least, maybe 4,000, something stupid like that. It ranks very well. It's great for awareness. It's been quoted a lot of times because it's really good information. For engagement, when we get those people over, they can subscribe. Or typically what we do is we will actually move them over via audiences and promote some of our videos. One of our most popular is SEO Seeds and Stems, how to create a keyword list in less than 10 minutes of over 500 keywords accurately, only using the Google search engine. And a second one we have is the Ultimate Guide to Google My Business, which walks someone through that has no clue what they're doing absolutely every step. Okay. From a subscription, we also do have a 7-day marketing boot camp, right? So it's one of the two things. They enter into here, right? Enter into awareness and engagement via organic search and then via us promoting content. They can jump directly into the convert, which is the entry point offer, which is basically what we're saying is forever free community membership. You come in here, we've got over 40 roadmaps. We've got those are all free, and you would pay a lot of money to other places to get access to that. And what we're saying is this stuff is the free stuff, kind of like Live at the Hive is the free stuff, right? You join that community membership and get value. Now, our key here in terms of that is we have to focus on the community. If we don't focus on the community and people just see a bunch of courses and roadmaps, it's not going to do anything, right? So we know that as a team, when we're working on Marketer Knows, we're working on engagement, community building, helping people one-to-one, answer questions and help facilitate, right? And then our core offer, which we haven't even started offering yet, is the Founders Club at $79 per month, which would regularly be $279, and then a lifetime 25% discount on any one-on-one consultations and new premium products, right? Our referral strategy with this is, hey, they've got weekly office hours. They have an exclusive Q&A where they'll answer. They'll screen share and do co-working huddles. They have literally ready to roll campaigns and creative and marketing services. So people can come in and then tell their friends oh my God, look at this. I got all this value. Right?
Yeah.
That is an example of a funnel. And that, I just blew through it really quickly, but that has taken a long time to try to think about, figure out, and understand.
Definitely.
Right? So let's see here. We're going to just blow through. This was really just an example. That's the onboarding process where we do use Activecampaign to help out with that, but there's also a lot of personalized one-to-one on that. Okay. Sorry, I ran out of breath there, but it's 1:14. We did start at noon.
Yeah, that was fast.
It was super fast.
It did go super fast, but yeah.
Mhm.
All righty, everybody. April, Stacy, thanks for jumping in the middle of your day.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, anytime.
Perfect.
Mucho
Have nice.
apreciado.
Yeah, lunchtime with the bees.
I like this lunchtime.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. I'm headed up north. Boop.
All right.
And so you have a great rest of your day and great rest of your weekend. We will see you next week, same B time, same B channel for episode 198 of Live at the Hive, digital marketing from the trenches. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification, hit us up in the comments if you have any questions, and share this with someone that may find this useful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks, Courtney. You have a great weekend too.
Yeah. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye.